Good afternoon. My name is Evan Arenas, and you're watching a short video covering the project I have worked on over the last several months. I will first give a brief presentation on the background and scope of the project, then follow up with a general demonstration of its functionality. This project is titled Issue Tracker. Now, an issue tracker manages issues. Users can add new issues, close those issues, and interact with them throughout that process. Typically, an issue tracker is an internal sort of application in that the users would not necessarily be customers. They're more likely to be employees. Regardless, the purpose of the application is to help solve problems by giving its users a tool to manage those problems in a consistent and formal manner. Now, of all the possible applications someone could build, what would motivate them to choose this one? An issue tracker is a solution to a real-world problem. Workplaces everywhere use this sort of application to varying degrees. I've also built the project with a product stack that was completely new to me. So it's been a learning experience not only in the application itself, but also in the technologies I used to build it. And finally, the project allowed me to cover all facets of web development. My experience throughout development has really been summed up in three areas. I started with a format for storing information, connecting to the database with an application programming interface, and then I tied it all together with a website. All three parts are already quite serious projects on their own. Together, they make up full stack web development. I wouldn't be presenting if not to share the lessons learned along the way, of course, which there were many. But I can narrow it down to some key ones. It's very important to read the documentation of whatever you're using, especially if you're new to it. I've found on many instances that I would have saved my time had I gone there first. Next is time management. It can be overwhelming to be presented with a lot of work all at once. That's why it's important to focus on which smaller aspects of it can be done first. Lastly, bugs. They're going to happen, no matter what. If you're not testing as you go, you can't be sure it works. Plain and simple. Earlier I mentioned that an issue tracker solves real-world problems, which are needing to manage issues. As it turns out, many others have built similar applications. Here are two that I found. The first is Google's Issue Tracker. I'm not fond of this one, mostly because it reminds me of Gmail. That doesn't detract from its functionality and ease of use, however. A robust search bar, good use of horizontal space, and familiar UI all add up to a decent web app. Another competitor which was at the top of the search results is Zoho's Bug Tracker. I liken Zoho's application to a more colorful and modern version of Google's product. The layout is nearly identical, with its navigation on the left-hand side and the remaining screen dedicated to a list of current issues. It's a good contender. My application feels quite different, probably because I'm no designer, but also because I haven't ever looked at an issue tracker prior to starting the project, so I designed it with a certain widget look to it. Lots of boxes floating on the screen. Looking back, it's clear to me that mine differs quite a bit. The UI doesn't have rows of text, there are far more colors to highlight what's important and what's not, and the user's experience is based on distinct pages rather than a single page. Taking a look at the first screenshot I prepared, the difference is apparent. These images showcase the page that lists the issues or bugs in both desktop and mobile screen sizes. These last images are of the user list, where all the accounts might be listed for managerial purposes. Right, so let's get a demonstration going now. Go ahead and navigate to our web app here, and we arrive to the login screen. So login screen's got two things here going on. We've got obviously the sign-in portion and the registration portion. I'll go ahead and sign in first, and then I'll register at the end of the presentation. So I'll go ahead and sign in with a known account, and it'll populate the fields for me, and I'll sign in as normal. So here we are at the bug list page. Go ahead and zoom in. The bug list page is three things. It's the search container, this bug list itself, and then also details for whichever one of these bugs you click on. And you'll notice that we have lists, we have pages down here. So the pages, it's not querying the database for all of the data all at once. It just gets a strict number of pages, and this number is customizable, but not in the UI. Only before compile time. So if you wanted to change it, it's just a simple variable. At the top here is a search container. So by default, you'll notice that it's set up for searching for open bugs with no other specifications. So it should give me every bug that's open currently, and that's it. And if you wanted to search by anything else, you could just change your dates, your date range. I'll go ahead and do an example real quick. So we'll check both open and closed bugs. We want to see it all. You notice we have some dates down here, 6 months ago, and if you hover over them, you can see the full date that says September 21st. So I think I'm going to narrow this down. I'll do January through through August, and we just want to see those bugs in that 7-month span, but not 7 months from today. It's 7 months from August. So yeah, so we're not going to see anything from middle of August till December, and we expect not to see this one for sure. And as I said, it's not there. So we got all the open and closed bugs, and the latest one we get is from August 4th, 2021, 3:48 p.m. And August 4th is between this date and this date, so we know that it's working properly. Right, so now that we've clicked on a bug, actually I'm not going to click on that one. Let me just clear these out real quick. Now that we've clicked on a bug, over here to the right side is where we see information about it. This is the title, and then so on and so forth, other data. For the most part, everything is here. There are some things missing, like authored by might also include the user ID, which is obviously not here. It's just the names and their role. So down here is where we would edit this bug. This will take us to another page, and on this page we see immediately which bug we are viewing. It tells us by object ID. And we also have a comment widget down here. Now the comment widget itself, I'll go ahead and zoom out. The comment widget itself contains the text box for submitting the comment, the button itself, and then the latest list of, 5 comments. Also, that number can be changed very easily, just another variable. Let's see, so it is listed in descending order as asked. You'll see here that I wrote a comment on it 10 minutes ago, and previous comments were around 4 or 5 hours before that. So I'll write another comment. You notice this one was by this user account here, so it should be under the same name. I can't type, I guess. Alright, and then this button here is totally irrelevant, does not need to be checked. And you'll see now that I've submitted the comment, it publishes it right away, refreshes the page, tells me that it was commented a few seconds ago. Kind of that nice feedback to let you know that something you did was right for once. So that's the comment section, and this is live, so any changes you make down here also stay up here. So down here is where we see the bug editor, which is what we really expected to see when we clicked this button earlier, edit this bug. So down to the left is the previous state. So that's the state that's in the database currently. And over to the right is the change state. So if I wanted to improve on their steps to reproduce, I don't have to copy from here and paste into here. I could just very well write it out myself. But I just decided to copy paste. I added a so instead of their only vary, and when I click submit change, change the classification as well to unapproved. It should reflect the changes right away on these two areas. Everything else will be the same. And so we're expecting to see this change, and we're expecting to see this change. And you'll notice right here that it's going to happen. And there you go. Now you see that your changes took effect, and they're shown in this previous state component, which is directly tied to the database, so you know that it worked. Moving on now, we'll go to the user list. Now the user list, I think, turned out really nice. You'll notice it has the same search component up here at the top, and it functions identically. So you expect to search by, say for example, a name. We'll go with this Ase, I guess. I don't even know how you pronounce that. And we get just him. If we had multiple people with that name, we would see multiple people. So I'll go ahead and do Paul Smith just to demonstrate it again, and there's Mr. Smith. Right, so and you notice that there are these buttons here. We've got this peak ID, and this shows us the database ID for that person, if it's useful for anything. Down here is an edit this user button, but right here is actually a link. This is a link. You notice the mouse changing. This is a link, a mail to prsmith@ranken.edu. So I don't want to click this now. It'll pop up a window. But yeah, if you wanted to email someone directly, that would be how you do it. We'll go ahead and edit this user. Now it takes us to an editor form that looks just like the bug editing form. And you'll notice that it seems to function exactly the same way too. So I'll go ahead and type some stuff in here. And it tells me that my password fields don't match. So I'm not changing my password just yet until I fix that. Now, I will admit this form actually is suffering from kind of a breaking bug right now, in that I can submit changes, but the changes still cause an error on the front end after the changes have already been successfully submitted. It is kind of strange. So we'll go ahead and change Mr. Smith's first full name to Mr. Paul Smith. And you'll notice here that it's not Mr. Paul Smith in the database, so this change here on the front end will submit over here if it's successful, and we should expect to see no error as a result of that. But you'll notice that it does submit the change, and it still keeps the error, so that is something I just didn't quite figure out. I think my implementation could be worked on. Furthermore are the bug test cases. Now you notice I had the comments, here are the comments, you know, so on and so forth. But I didn't have the test cases, and the test cases were really tough for me all throughout the project. I couldn't quite grasp them, what they were supposed to, how they were supposed to be implemented. So it was something I just kept pushing off on the front end, never ended up doing it, and I just ran out of time. So altogether, though, I think the application turned out alright. Now I'll just demonstrate this real quick, and yeah, it's just going to use all my personal information. I'll just register for an account. So this is what registering for an account looks like. So of course on the back end you expect it to not allow you to register and then access everything right away. You want there to be some role that needs to be given to you in order for you to have access. And that's exactly what's being demonstrated here. I've logged in. You see that it's recognizing the name I just logged in with, and it's telling me, hey, but actually you have an account, but you're just not authorized to do any of this stuff. So that's actually what happened here. And I go to the editor, I go to the bug list, doesn't matter. Now this one is kind of broken right now. So I'm on the user list, and the user list, it still gives me the search box, and I can apparently perform searches still. But yeah, that's not expected behavior. And then here's the user editor, not authorized. So those things are working as expected, and you'll see here I've got the it's recognized that the account signed into. So yeah, that's the application. I hope you guys enjoyed watching. Thanks.